Well,
Do you
look,
do
we got a lot of
Pilates? What do
people.
you
Hi,
do?
everyone. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi.
Ivan.
Oh, Adriana, your namesake, Adriana Fazio says Queens. Listen, everyone, I'm so happy to be talking about something other than the Trump administration right now. Um, and we're going to take a little break. Consider this a little bit of an Italian palate cleanser because I'm here with my friend Adriana Trigiani, and Adriana was one of the nicest people to me when my book came out a few years ago. It got some negative press, which still stings, I got to be honest. But Adriana was super supportive and enthusiastic about my memoir, which was so nice. And she should know because she has just written, you guys, her 21st book. And her book is called The View from Lake Como. But Adriana is also just an incredibly wonderful person and very interesting person as well. So we're just talking about books. We're talking about summer reading. She has a podcast. I was lucky enough to be on her podcast. It's not a podcast, it's a podcast. And it's called You Are What You Read. And some of her guests, you all, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kristen Hanna, whose books I haven't read, who I really want to read,
You
Dave
got it. She's the
Baldacci.
Herman Woke. She's the new Herman James
I
Smith.
know. I want to talk about her. You've had Whoopi Goldberg, Rainn Wilson, Amor
Mhm.
Tolls, Fannie Flagg, the aforementioned Katie Couric, Mitch Albom, who I love, who's a really
Good
incredible
man.
person, Craig Ferguson, many, many more. But before we talk about the people you've interviewed, Adriana, let's talk about your book. 21 books. How do you keep churning them out like that?
Well, it's my job.
I know.
It's like when people ask you, you're doing another interview, you know, it's your blood. It's in your blood. Like we have to do it. I am compelled. And so, to me, 21 might seem like a lot, but to me, I feel I'm going to run out of lifetime
Aw, well,
to
that's
get them
great to
all
hear,
down.
and I love to hear about people's origin stories, Adriana, and what made you decide you wanted to be a writer? What was the first inkling that you said, "Gosh, I'm good at this. I have some talent in writing,"
Well, when I was a kid, I'm one of seven, and we grew up in Big Stone Gap, Virginia.
which
And
is, you guys, very Southern Virginia, coal
yeah,
country.
coal country where the 5 states meet: Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina.
How did
Boom.
you all end up there before sorry, I know you're gonna tell me a story, but how did you all end up in Big Stone Gap, Virginia?
My father was 33 years old, a young garment manufacturer in the North in the late 60s. And the War on Poverty program was a government program where they gave low interest government loans to train the Southern workforce. You had to go to a place called, do you remember this, Katie? Poverty stricken Appalachia.
Oh, yeah.
So my dad went down there and Appalachia extends from New York State to Georgia, but they wanted him to focus in Virginia. And so he went down, and it took a while, but some things happened in his life where he said, I'm going to move my family down there. And I think it really made us who we are. I'm a proud Appalachian. I love the Appalachian people. I understand them. We can agree to disagree, but they're my heart down there. I love those people.
And what was it like having this big Italian family in the middle of, well, in Appalachia, which I always called Appalachia when I was growing up, but it's
Yeah,
Appalachia.
it's
Um,
actually Appalachia. That's how we say it down there. If you say Appalachia, they throw an Appalachia. I mean, I just don't. Yeah, but Appalachia is so beautiful because of Appalachian Spring, but they say Appalachian Spring. I mean, that's why people pronounce it that way. Um, but the it's a unique area because it's the area in the United States where everything started, and so my dad kind of threw himself into it, and we did. We I would say my brothers and sisters and I bonded even more closely because we grew up there. My family's traveling with me. I'm doing a show with a band. My brother heads the band. Mike Trigiani and the Predictables. So, and they're called the Predictables because Italian families eat macaroni every Tuesday night. It's predictable.
So
So,
you were telling me as a little girl how you sort of started writing.
oh, okay. Katie, I'm the worst interview in the world,
No,
okay?
you're not.
So,
I took it in a different direction. It was my
no, no,
fault.
no. Okay, so when I was a little girl, the first thing we did when we got to Big Stone Gap, my mother's a librarian. We lined up for the bookmobile because there was no town library. And we got our cards. And it was the only thing in our lives where you could have as many as you want. And I would take home stacks of books. But I didn't understand then. I'm a little slow on the uptake, doesn't even tell you. I wrote television and I didn't realize what the process was. My friends had in New York had to tell me when I got into TV. Because I didn't, what's an agent? I didn't know anything. So with the books, it was kind of the same thing, except it's really interesting. The books I read were written by women. Like I love Jane Eyre and I love Beverly Cleary, Astrid Lindgren and Pippi Longstocking, Kay Thompson, Eloise. I could keep going of the that were formed me, that really formed the way I thought about things. And then my mother was a librarian. She's a woman. So then it all just started to click. But I started as a dramatist because I wrote plays for the school. And then I was a theater major and I learned how to direct and write plays and perform in them. But I'm a terrible actress. But I learned how to communicate with actors, which is how I got to direct movies because I get the actors. They read the script. Yeah, I'll do your movie. And that's what it takes. You have to get the stars into your movie or the actors that are great into your movie. So, see, it all started with that reading down there, and the town was very theatrical. I call the book business show business. I think anytime you take me into a world and I'm now in your life, whether it's your memoir or it's Christy Brinkley's that I read and just loved, I can't believe what I'm reading, that you're telling me this story. And so I feel that way about books. I feel like I'm always better for having read one. Even if it's not the greatest book in the world, there's something in there because somebody sat down and thought this through and that I was turned on by books. The light came on with me. Nancy Drew. I love Nancy Drew. I couldn't write a mystery if you put a gun to my head. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to put a dead body on the beach. I don't know how to do it, but I marvel at my friends who do it. Wow. They
So
read Nancy Drew too.
how did you get sort of the courage to write your first book? And was it scary kind of putting it out there and kind of waiting to see the response? Because I do think it takes a lot of courage to try something for the first time.
I think you're right because you could fail. I fail more than I succeed. It doesn't work more than it works. But I hold on to it because there is nothing I love this much. And I can feel myself sometimes getting better. I try to make every book better than the last one. And I'm a person that wouldn't put a book out if I didn't think it was great. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't fob it off on the public, right?
How many times have you written a book, Adriana, and then shelved it because you said it just wasn't good or gotten through a lot of it?
Many, many, and Katie, it gets down granular to a sentence where I lie in the middle of the night sometimes and think I could have done that if I had flipped the order of that. And now working with on this show, it's the same thing. I wrote the show. And then some things work and some nights some things work and then another night it doesn't. So I'm writing on that stage every night. Every night I'm writing that stuff. And it all begins. The great, great art is on that page that's dramatized. No matter if it's giving a presentation, a speech, whatever it is, it starts with those words on the page. So I just keep noodling and tinkering. I mean, I just tinker and tinker and tinker, till I feel it's gotten there. But it takes courage. But you know what? To me, what's worse than failure is not trying it at all and not finishing. I get that on the road a lot. I'm writing something. Katie, get this. This is so up your alley because you love this stuff. I started to look into this because as I was traveling, I said, people are asking me different questions. What's going on? When I started doing this 25 years ago, there were barely any self-published books. I mean, like 100, 200. There were 6 major publishers. Now there's 5. The major publishers back when I started, they may be all in, and this includes everything you read from a driver's manual to a novel to a memoir to anything, nonfiction, about 600,000 for 6. And they had their imprints and their things, and sometimes a new imprint would start very exciting. That's the major publishers, and you had to go through an agent, okay? And there was a thing called the slush pile, but it was ebbing out because of email and all that stuff. Now they were starting to get it electronically. Get this. Last year in the United States of America, 3.8 million books were self-published. We're
Wow.
changing. We're a nation of storytellers. We're a nation of readers. We're connecting with the page. Now this is what my self-publishing brothers and sisters need to know. Check who owns your company that you're publishing through, because you have to raise the money to get your book published. A lot of people don't have that kind of money sitting around. The major publishers own the lion's share of them. So you're really working for them. That's the new way they read up and coming authors to be discovered, is through those self-published books. It's one of the ways. And then the other way, of course, is the traditional agent route. But think about it. They just moved the slush pile into a publication realm, and they're making a lot of money. Good for them. Welcome to the United States. We want everybody to make a lot of money.
But what do you tell your friends about self-publishing then?
I said, be very careful. Ask a lot of questions. Are you getting an editor? Who's designing your cover? Who are you going to sell to? Now, I just met a lady here at Thunder Road Books who self-published a children's book. She does it for charity. She gets on her bike and rides around town. The thing sells like hotcakes. So it's however you want to do it. The traditional publishers, what's beautiful to me about it, and you probably feel this way, as I like a team. From a big family. I don't like to be a lone wolf out there doing this myself. I need input. And people will tell you, if you have a great editor, it makes the book better. But there's a process to it. And see, just like everything else that's in our lives now, these phones, everything, it sneaks in. I didn't know this was happening. When I heard 3.8 million self-published books, I get elated by that, because people have a need to express themselves through the written word. So it's to me, it's beautiful. But where are they getting editors? I don't see them making more editors. So people must be cross-pollinating and helping and doing, and however that works. And a lot of educators write books.
Yeah.
Our teachers. That's the biggest group that presents new novels. Our teachers, because they know the business and they know they've been reading books to kids to get educated, to go to college. And they hear their voice that way. I think it's fantastic.
I've been talking to people lately who've written books, and when it comes to big publishing houses, they say editors don't really edit anymore, that they're more in the sales and marketing of books, and there's so much pressure on them in some of these publishing houses. Have
Mm.
have you found that to be the case, or have you talked
Ah,
to people?
no, absolutely not. I have not found that to be true at all. No, but I need an editor. I rely on them. In fact, if I'm going to, before I ever write anything, I say, hey, I'm thinking about this for the next one. What do you think? Um, I think it's really important to work with a team. I think it focuses you. And then the other thing you've got to do, and this is so hard, but look, 3.8 million people did it. You got to set a deadline. You have to get it done. Mostly is the books that don't get read have not been finished. So it's
So,
really important to do that. Yeah. And the editor, she's a pile driver. Yeah.
somebody asked if AI said comments that AI is killing the editors and writers. Someone named Pat. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Um, do you use AI, and what are your
No,
feelings about it?
no. But if they found a tumor, I'd use AI. If they found a tumor, I would use AI. If I wanted to figure out where I was going on vacation, I'd use AI. I would not use it to write.
But
I think
I know that this new book, that the protagonist goes to Carrara, where
yeah,
I guess where the marble comes from, right?
yep,
In
yep,
Italy.
you got it, you got it, yeah.
And it's called The View from Lake Como. If you wanted to find out more about Carrara and you wanted to kind of set a scene, I haven't read your book yet, but set a scene in a cafe in Carrara, you wouldn't say to AI, what is the most popular cafe in Carrara, Italy?
Well, I think that's a great use of it, but I didn't do that, I go there. I just go
Even
there. I
better.
eat the food, and then I go up the mountain, you know, you'll love this. The mountains that I talk about in here, I talked to an old man up there, a miner in Carrera on the mountain, and he said, "The earth will perish before this marble will be gone." I mean, what more does a novelist need? I was like, It's eternal, what that is." And the same place where this young sculptor Iago goes to get his marble is where Michelangelo went.
Wow.
It's the same source, the same source. Well, that just, that had me going. So
Sometimes when I go,
I think if you can't go there, I think it's a great tool. See, you use it like we used to use encyclopedias or the book
I
of
mean,
knowledge.
I don't use it that much, to be honest. I sometimes use it by default because now when I Google something, instead of reading articles and kind of combing through and looking at the source, right? Because that's so
Mhm,
important. Like, who wrote this? Who's the reporter?
mhm,
What's
mhm.
the media organization? Now they just give me a synopsis, and it does save time, but I also want to read. I want to make sure that the source is reliable. So I use it pretty sparingly, but I do find that it's served up to me and I can't avoid it now.
No, you're because Google will those companies will merge and there will be a thing. But again, we have to check the sources of the knowledge.
Right.
I mean, you
The
know,
large language models, as they say.
right, right. So, and we're in the baby era of it, but it's moving like a freight train. I mean, it's huge. And of course, the Authors Guild, which I'm on the council of, eh, they that's the group that started the copyright laws years ago. And Mary Rassenberger, an attorney, is in charge of it. And I joined there and I'm learning, you still it's still illegal to plagiarize, but they're taking our books and they for people to copy, to
Right.
copy.
And with that, I know that my book, I did a book of advice called The Best Advice I Ever Got,
Yeah,
because I gave a lot of commencement speeches and I would ask, like, friends of mine or people I'd interviewed and had access to, like Cheryl Crow or somebody, like, what would
yeah,
you tell the graduates? So then I thought, well, this would be a cool book. And I gave all the money to an organization called Scholarship America that helps underserved people go to college. It's a really wonderful story about an optometrist in Fall River, Massachusetts. And anyway, it's his name was Irving Fratkin. I love this story, but I don't want to take everyone's time telling it. But anyway, I saw that book was on a list of what was being culled for AI, and I was like, nobody asked me.
nobody asked me. I wrote a family cookbook and they took it, and then all my books are somehow involved in that. But here's the thing, there's only one Katie, there's only one Adri on, there's only one, and that particular voice is what is particular on that page. I don't think that can be copied, and I've talked to, like, the big guys, like John Sargent, who was a great publisher, um, Josh Sapan, one of the most
I know Josh Sapan.
creative genius, and
Oh
he
no, I don't know that. I don't know that person.
Josh Sapan is he ran Rainbow Media. He's and
He
he wrote
was he the head of AMC?
yes.
I know Josh Sapan.
So I call these guys and I go, what do you think's happening here? And what do you think? And converse about it. And my conclusion to this, Katie, is that AI does not have a soul. And the soul, I believe every endeavor that is creative is a journey of the soul. And without a soul, you could copy it, you could fry it, you could bread it, you could eat it, but it isn't real. It isn't an authentic expression of a soul. And so somebody said to me, one of the people I called said, well, they're going to replicate the soul. I said, impossible.
Yeah, try to make it sentient, right? Thinking.
Right. Like emotional. Good luck with that. Now, I worry for our kids, but I even think that the soul will win over that. You know, these fake people online that they're dating and things. Eventually that is not satisfying because it doesn't connect you deeply in a way that you can communicate. So the fakery eventually becomes, I would say, routine and then boring and then insignificant.
I
So
hope you're right.
I hope I'm right, and I'll keep asking the questions and I'll share whatever I find out. But why is it like, why is it some books last? Is you can pick them up and they're familiar to you. They speak to your soul. And the day that they don't speak to your soul and it's been taken over by artificial something, that's when people sit down and will write new ones themselves. And you notice that that is happening.
Tell me about what you're reading now. Well, I want to talk a little more about your book because everyone needs to buy Adriana's new book, which is called The View from Lake Como.
Well, they are, and thank you. They're
I've
buying it.
never been to Lake Como. How's the book doing?
I can't believe you haven't been to Lake Como. Well, first of all, you're close, and you guys need to jump in the car and come down to Lake Como, New Jersey. Okay? Because this is an American story, unlike, well, there are many billions of American stories. But here's what happened, and the book opens on this, is the town was in the crapper. It was called South Belmar, but they had a lake called Lake Como between Belmar, kind of a little bustling city, and Spring Lake, New Jersey, which is where one of the only cathedrals in the United States completely made of Carrara marble.
Wow, I didn't
By
know
an
that.
English Irishman, he shipped it all over and dedicated it to his daughter who passed away. The whole story's you'll read the whole thing. Anywho, so this Lake Como down here, it's enchanted. These towns, Spring Lake, they're enchanted. Not just summer, winter, fall. I kept coming down here. 15 years ago, we came to a wedding. One of the guys on my husband's crew got married, and we went to St. Catharines, and I was like besotted with this place. I started asking around. They said, "Oh, yes," and because it was Italian, and I knew it was Italian. I was like, "What's going on here?" Then I came over to Spring Lake, and the town at that point was when they made their turning point. About 2005, they changed their name. The people that own homes in that town have owned them for generations, and their property values plummeted because it was called South Belmar. It's like people smoking weed on the beach, throwing trash around, and these local people banded together and said, "Hey, this is bad. We need to turn this around.
So they
Why don't
rebranded. They
They
rebranded.
rebranded it. They took it from South Belmar to like the bad part of town to Lake Como, New Jersey. And you should see it. Wonderful Mayor Higgins, the whole thing. It's zhuzhed up. It's beautiful. You want to come here on vacation. So anyway, so then connected to my Lombardian roots. My people on my mother's side are from the Italian Alps near Lake Como. So every time we visited family, I went there. We'd go there. We visited. And that lake over there, I can't believe you haven't been. I will give you the list of every place to eat, go do. It's incredible. And there's Lake Garda, there's beautiful lakes, but I wanted to do that lake because of this town. So I went back over there, visited my cousins, hung out, and it kind of all came to me. Carrara, this, that. She's working class, which all my books are about working class people. And she's a marble draftsman, and she's just gotten a divorce. Nobody understands why. She lives in this little town, Lake Como, where everybody's related to each other. And she marries into the nicest family, little bit of a mama's boy, but he's the town butcher. And she divorces him, and living in her parents' basement.
Why
And
did she
nobody,
do we find out why she divorced him?
yes,
But you're not gonna give it away.
no.
So then she goes to Italy. She goes to Italy, right?
She kind of escapes, is what happens, because the man in her life is her uncle Louis Capodimonte, and they've owned this marble importing business for 100 years. His father owned it and his grandfather, okay? And then now he's and then I'm this is kind of a spoiler alert, but anyway,
Well,
Uncle
don't
Louis,
spoil it. Don't
I won't
spoil it.
spoil it. But anyway, he sees in her, she's so schlumpy at this point and so depressed and living in the basement and working for him, and she's worked for him since she was 18. And you find out that she didn't go to sleepaway college, which is what the Italians call it sometimes, meaning you leave. And you find out why. And she was an Italian major, and you find out why she's never been to Italy. And then it happens for her, and it changes her life.
How did you come up with this idea? Like, where did it come from?
Okay.
Obviously the cathedral, right? And the
Right? That's
marble,
right. Loving that marble. Who did
right?
this? Who installed it? You hear these names and you start to go, who are they? How did they do it? But the heartbeat of this is I wanted to tell my great grandmother's story, but I had just spent 4 years on a historical called The Good Left Undone. And I love to write historicals, but I didn't want to do so. I took her story from 1915 and I placed it in 2025.
And how
So,
long does it take you to I mean, you told me that one took 4.5 years. On average, how long does it take you to write a book?
well, the idea sometimes is 30 years, 25 years. It take that part of it that but then when I sit in the chair from the moment I begin it till I finish it is a year. So when I sit with my editor, and I highly recommend this, you sit with the editor and you go, "What about this?" What, and I'm always like this, Katie. I'm like, "What do the people want? What do the people want from me? What do they want me to read?" And I believe this, by the way, sidebar about politics. What are you doing for the people? What are you doing for the people? And I'm involved, but I will say that's the question in every meeting. What are we doing for the people? So what am I doing for the reader? For the reader.
And what did
And
you think the reader was looking for when you wrote this book?
I think it's expensive to go traveling. And I grew up in economic uncertainty, and I knew books made me certain. They made me feel I could go there someday. I can do it. And I was looking around and people are very terrified right now. And by the way, my publisher would be horrified that I'm telling you, I browbeat them to get the prices down. I browbeat them. Get the price down. Get the price down. I want this essentially to be if you went out to lunch. That's what I want a book to cost. And they're really good about it. They're getting there. They're getting there.
So how much does your book cost?
Well, it varies, but 20, sometimes 26, sometimes 22. I'm really happy when it's 22. I'm really happy when it's 18. So the more popular they get, it goes cheaper, cheaper, which motivates my sales for me,
Right.
salesman. Like the more of us that buy it, the cheaper it's going to be, and you can share it. And I only say this about books too. They're easy to wrap. Give it away then. Give
Yeah, no, that's
some.
true. And,
Yeah,
my sister still checks books out of the library.
I do too. I do too. Sure. Because you can't, I really want you to come over and see my library. You're going to lose it. There's stuff in there. You're in there, but it's like, it's unbelievable. I have collected signatures through the years that are just unbelievable. I'm gonna bequeath them to like, I don't know, Library of Virginia that honored you. I'm gonna do something with all that stuff. But you know, you can't, it, it's got properties of book. To me, it is show business. It's like the theater. It's like when you're infused with this going to Italy and you don't have to get on an airplane. You're there, baby. And by the way, when you get there, it's going to look just like you read it. It's going to be the same thing. And if you can't go, if you're incapacitated or you don't have the dough, save the dough. If you can save the dough, you'll eventually get there. And then you just plot your little trip, you know? We try to do that too. We try to encourage walking tours and tours. I've done them to Italy with Gina Casella. And we go and we do, and people get to see it. And it's not like the old days where you'd go for a month when you went over there because there's airplanes, it's easier. And you can go for 5 days. You can get the vibes and have the experience, and it can transform you.
Do you have time? I have a confession to make, and I'm kind of embarrassed, but I have not been reading as much as I want because of my telephone. It's a huge time suck. I'm scrolling, often doom scrolling, and there's so many books I want to read, and then between my stupid phone, social media,
Right?
and streaming, and really being tired, sometimes I don't make enough time to read. I just read Molly Jong Fast's book, How to
I
Lose
loved
Your
it.
Mother, which I really enjoyed. And it was
Yeah.
so
Right.
brutally honest. And I felt like I got to really know Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Reading
Me
that
too.
book, it also made me so grateful for my mom, who just loved me unconditionally. I feel so lucky. I had such great parents. Obviously Erica Jong was just a wacky, narcissistic person. Um, but do you have time to read while you're writing? And how do you make time to sit down with a good book? Because once I do, I'm so grateful. But sometimes I have trouble like saying, I want to read this, and I'm gonna block out the rest of the world, my phone calls, social media,
Hmm?
and how do you do that?
Okay, stop beating yourself up because reading of I like all art is cyclical in a soul. There's times you really need it. You know, I go to a book when I'm struggling, when I'm upset, or when I need some illuminata. I need the light. I got to figure it out.
Or you want to escape,
You
maybe.
want to escape. Now you work out. That's the best time to do an audiobook. But
I haven't gotten really into audiobooks either.
okay, that's the secret. There's your secret because you could be cooking dinner, you could be working in the garden, and put the story in. Put the story in, and you know, or you're driving somewhere, like you guys commute to a house back and forth. That's when you do it. And by the way, yes, the current releases, because that's the vibe of the moment, great. But like if you never got to the Brothers Karamazov, listen to the audio. You can't believe it. And it's like for me, I get the Illuminata, but I don't have to sit. I think you're doing so much. I can't believe what you do. I mean, people say that to you all the time, but you have plenty of time for everything. But it's what you love to do. So I think cars are the biggest time sucks. I listen in cars. I listen when I'm like cleaning or
When you're
because
walking, maybe, like if you
walking
take a
is really
walk.
good. Walking is the best time to listen because you really take it in. Now, The View from Lake Como was read by Mira Sorvino.
Oh, I love her.
I just had breakfast with her.
She's
She,
so nice and so smart.
I mean, really, I was a little ashamed of my intellect when I was with her, but
Oh,
all right. She perked me up, but she the reverence with which she works is I was amazed at her. I was just amazed at her, and she wanted to talk about all the intricacies of these characters, but she grew up in Tenafly. Then we talked about our
Did you know
bombastic dad.
Paul? Did you know her dad?
I never met him,
Paul
but I have a
Sorvino.
lot of actor friends who worked with him,
Because
so I
he
kind of
came
had
on
a view of him.
he came on the Today Show with a cookbook. He was so lovely and so nice,
Yeah.
and I think he was a big singer too, wasn't
He
he?
wanted to be an opera singer.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
Mira will tell you the story of the years of training he undertook. That was his passion to sing. Yeah.
So tell me what you're reading now, and if you needed to, what you might recommend to me. I just bought a book called All the Beauty in the World.
Mhm.
It's by a guy named Patrick Bringley, and it's a memoir about working as a guard at the Metropolitan Museum for a
Mm.
decade. I think it was after his brother died,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to be beautiful. So I bought that book. And I just bought another book and now I can't remember. It's in my bag. I'm reading, oh, that I'm reading a book. This is just kind of interesting called that Evan Osnos wrote for he's a writer for the New Yorker. He wrote a book called The Haves and the Have Yachts. And it's all about sort
Sounds
of
great.
the American oligarchy. I heard him interviewed on the Apple News podcast, and
Mhm.
I am very interested and disturbed by massive income inequality and sort of I think it was reignited because I'm watching The Gilded Age,
Sure.
and I was thinking about sort of modern day robber barons, and I was thinking about sort of the tech titans and how they compare to the turn of the century industrialists. But anyway,
Yes.
but he wrote a book called The Have and the Have Yachts, all about kind of the super rich in this country. Anyway, but that's more work related, I think. But
Well,
I'm
not
looking for
really.
I
Not
huh?
really, because I'm right with you. Because I wanna understand what is happening with this inflated wealth. So I went back and found a book that's a great companion to Evan's book. Okay. But it was written in 1934. Now think about that. It's about 20 years out, 30 years out from the robber baron age. Okay.
Yeah.
It's called The Robber Barons, and the author is Josephson. Now, my agent is named Josephson, so I was thinking Nancy, but that's not the guy's name. I have Tom Josephson. Andrea will look it up and send it. Um,
I'll look it up
it
right now.
Okay, it is, Katie, so sumptuous and beautifully written, and it really puts the needle to the nerve about how wealth can destroy people, but
And
also,
societies.
but hang on, does a lot of good. A lot of good for
Well,
the
it
people.
can. And
Parts, it can. It can.
Evan
It
Osnos's point is it's not so much the making of the money, it's what's done with the money, and that the Rockefellers and the Carnegies worried about the Russian Revolution, obviously built tons of libraries to educate people and to raise people's stature and give them more opportunities. But then I was reading about this something called what is it called? Anyway, Silicon Valley
mhm,
has a philosophy about philanthropy, and it's
mhm.
called shoot, now I can't remember it, you guys. Is huh?
Acceleration.
Yeah, accelerationism, which is more about how innovation is different kind of philanthropy, and you don't
Mhm.
have to like your innovation is an act of generosity to
That
society.
is such bullshit,
Yeah.
okay? That is complete and utter bullshit. I'm sorry to curse on your
No,
subs.
no, go ahead,
Nobody
go
cares. What
crazy.
do they
No,
care?
nobody cares.
Nobody's gonna be offended. That is so wrong because that's your work and that's your bread and butter. But we have to make sure children have breakfast and lunch and backpacks on weekends because they're hungry. And I'm from Appalachia and I will preach this. And I go down there and I do whatever I can do. It doesn't take a lot. We each have to help each other do this. But look, there's there is enough money in the world to solve every social problem we have. And I'm not saying people don't need to work because I don't believe in that. I think you have to find your soul mission here and
Yeah,
work
I
really
worry
hard.
about universal basic income for that reason.
Are we against that? I'm against that. That's terrible.
Well, I don't know.
Horrible idea.
I think if AI does in fact displace so many workers, I think we're going to have to come up with something. that
But Katie, you know what I say about AI?
what?
This is what I say about AI. If you're scared of it, maybe you should be. You, me, whoever the person is that's listening within the sound of our voice, you have to be the innovator in your own life. Don't let that anybody dictate to you. What what am I even doing here? I'm from Big Stone Gap, Virginia. I'm Italian. They tell us Italian Americans don't read. There were so many labels lobbed off on me. Couldn't get out from under them. Same is true for you. What it takes, what it takes is ownership of your life and not to be afraid. It would have been like my grandmother being afraid of the invention of the car. And my great grandfather said something that is so good. He said, soon when he saw the car being invented, my Venetian great grandfather, and he said, soon the car, okay, cars are expensive when they were invented. He said, but soon the horse will be expensive. Okay. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Cars proliferated and people began to be able to afford them, and horses are expensive to keep. But he saw that in his lifetime. The horse was cheap. Now, see? So the same is true with avenues of thought. If we educate to excellence, which, by the way, I'm very galvanized about kids. I think they're phenomenal. They're getting better education than we ever did, Kate. They just are. It's there for them.
Some of them are, not all of them.
Well, true. True, but that's where we have to, like, knuckle down and identify where problems are in the community. It's not like we can wave a magic wand on a on some global level to lift. It has to happen in a community with people that come together and go, "You know, this ain't right. We gotta fix it." That's the only way to do it. That includes education. And what does that mean? I work in the schools. I know you do a lot with kids. We do what we can do, and we have to push. We have to push, and we have to invigorate the next generation to want to pick up the mantle and go, okay, now you help do it. So if that happens on a local, I mean, I really believe it's local. I really believe that. Do you have a good principal? How's your teaching? Are your teachers, are they supported? Do they feel they're supported? How about our librarians? You know, the library in the 25 years I've been doing this completely changed. They're community centers now. The elderly go there all day. The working parents will say, go to the library after school. The librarians are working round the clock to engage the public, keep them busy, raise money for the computers. I mean,
But
it's like,
aren't
wow,
so many but Adriana, aren't so many libraries closing?
well, sure. I get in those arguments all the time. I don't know the stats on that.
I'm
Uh,
gonna Google it right now.
But I know the ones that are functioning open and are phenomenal, and
Yeah,
they
no,
are
they're so important. I think, there's so few places where people can be in
gather
community, as they say.
gather in
I'm
community.
just looking this up.
Our library in Big Stone Gap, Virginia surely does it. We still have the bookmobile, but we have the library too, and it's where people go in my town. And the New York Public Library, our friend Sarah Jessica Parker will tell you, we had our kids at the same time, and we'd laugh because that girl pops in libraries like, I go out for a
Yeah.
Diet Coke. She's always in a
Let
library.
Let me
Yeah,
just read this. Well, interesting. So,
yeah.
this is the AI overview. No, libraries are not becoming obsolete. While physical visits may have decreased due to the rise of digital resources, libraries are adapting and thriving as community hubs, offering a wide range of services beyond just books. They provide access to technology, so true, educational resources, and community spaces, particularly for those who might not otherwise have access. But then another little panel says, why are so many libraries closing? The U.S. library system, once the model for the world, is under assault from politicians, right wing activists, and corporate publishers. Book bans are at a record level, are at record levels, and libraries across the country are facing catastrophic budget cuts, a fate only narrowly avoided by New York City's public libraries this summer. This was from 2023. Actually, someone I know has done a documentary, a woman named Kim Snyder,
Okay.
about libraries. I think Sarah Jessica Parker
Yeah,
is an
I think she's
exec
the voice of it.
is an executive
Yeah.
producer, and I want to watch that. Um,
Now,
oh gosh,
can I tell you a story really quick? You're gonna
yeah.
love this story. When I was a kid, I got my hand my I was allowed to read whatever I wanted to read. And my mother's a librarian and then backing me up, but I wanna really explain that I grew up in a very my father was very strict. They were very strict. And my parents were college educated, okay? My father went to Notre Dame, my mother went to St. Catherine's, children of immigrants on my mother's side, okay? Didn't even speak English when they got here, but my grandmother read books. That's how she learned English. Taught herself, okay? So, I'm I'm in, I don't know, middle school, and this cover of this book caught my eye. It was called Sybil.
Oh, I remember Sybil.
Well, I'm reading it. I was the babysitting queen of my town, and I have 4 sisters, and I would job them out, and I'd take the best paying for myself, okay? I pimped out my sisters. Well, I babysat so much, I'd carry the whatever I was reading, I'd carry around with me, and one day I came home from school, and my mom said, "What are you reading?" And I said, I'm reading this book, Sybil." And she said, "A couple ladies that you babysit for called me and said it's inappropriate reading for you." I was 14.
It was about multiple personality disorders,
That's
and
right, which I'd
Sally
never heard of
Field.
mental ill I did the movie had not been made yet, or
Yeah.
maybe it had been. We got
No,
no
I don't think
reception
so,
for
probably.
television, so I'm not a TV person because we didn't get any reception. Anyway, my mother said, "Can I see the book?" And I said, "Sure." And I gave it to her. Now, you know that that's a heavy-going book. And my mother is a person who oh, elegant, smart, conservative. I don't even like to use that word because it doesn't really say it. She was a classicist in a certain way.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, "Oh, great, now they're ruining this for me too." So I kinda went on my way. Couple days later, my mom said, "I wanna talk to you about this book." And I sat down with her and she said, "You read everything." And she handed me the book. "You read everything, and don't let anybody ever tell you you can't read a book. You read it, and you decide. That's how you build your intellect, by
Wow.
reading things that you don't like, things you disagree with, things you agree with." And she gave me permission to be a sponge. She would be horrified by this. And what is book ban? Katie, I don't know if AI has this information. It's like a pocket of 14 people causing these problems.
I know.
It really is. It's like a nothing burger. But amplification of negativity in this culture, I wish we could change that. I wish we could change that. I would just pick up the phone and call these ladies and say, "Hey, what are you doing? What are
The
you
moms
thinking?"
for they're moms for liberty people.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm for liberty too. So we're mothers for liberty. We're the liberty to read whatever the heck you want to read and read it all. And by that, think about that. Think what my mother gave me. She gave me the world by saying that, and I proudly read that book. And went on to the next thing, but you know, conservative southern town. Okay.
But
Okay.
said it went how it doesn't sound like, I mean, you're saying she's conservative, but she was extremely I mean, that definition has
Well, first
changed
of
so
all,
much.
Katie,
She
the
was
man
very
is so
open-minded.
this oh, when it look, not in terms of my manners or my behavior. I think you were raised like I was. We had to toe the line.
Yeah.
We didn't go we had to dress a certain way when we went to church. We had to do all this stuff, right?
You
Which
had
I
to
found,
say, "May I please be excused?" before you left
oh
the
my god,
table. I
when
had
I
to
get a
do that.
blown,
May
I
I
say
please
it.
be
May I
excused?
please be excused? I'm the same way. Oh, yes. Mr. and Mrs., which you don't hear anymore.
My
You put in,
dad used to make us say yes, sir, to him. That was
we
sort of
did sir and ma'am. We did sir and ma'am as Italians, okay? Which we thought was so weird. But my parents also taught us to live in the culture you're in, live in it. When I got pregnant with my baby, I said to my dad, she's not going to be allowed to watch television. Or he, I didn't know what it was. And my father said, are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? He said, you have a child in this world that never watches television? He said, don't you watch television? I said, yeah. He said, you're focusing on the wrong things. Read, read, read. Take her places, show her things, walk around the block. He said, you live in New York City. What better place is this to educate a kid? Take him to the museums. But he said, get him out with the people. Let him hear different languages. Let him see how people are, who they are. That's how we made it in Appalachia. That's how we ended up loving people that were different from us. And by the way, they had to take a stretch and love us because we were very weird to them. We were weird. And, you learn from that. To close libraries is the single most ridiculous, stupid idea that anybody ever had. They're trying to control your thoughts, people. They're trying to control how you communicate with each other. They're trying to divide you. That makes me pull close. Listen, I had to answer. You do this all the time. I had to answer Instagram today, right, Andrea? Whatever it was. Anyway, so a lady wrote in, and I was on a television program, and she said, I love your books, but I hate that show, and I can't support this book because you were on that show. And I wrote her back, and I
what
said,
show?
it was The View. And I said, I wrote her back, and I said, first of all, she said, she read all my books. She wanted to read this one. I said, first of all, thank you for reading all my books. And I want to assure you that all conversation is connection, all of it. Whether you love it, you hate it, you're making a decision about something, all of it is connection. Let's connect. God bless you and your beautiful family. And I meant it. This is the stuff we have to stop. This is you know, when people watch the Today Show, well, they weren't watching the other ones, right? They were watching you. Well, did you ever think to say, oh, that other show is terrible because I'm not on it? No. And this is kind of what people are doing. And it's okay if you don't want to watch. I'm just telling you, whatever. But don't let anything keep you from reading a book. What, what are we talking about here? What are we
So,
talking about? It's crazy.
Adriana, I love you, and I
And I
know
love you.
you have to go in a second, but before you go, and I'd love everyone. We have 1,000 people. This is so fun, everyone. And Adriana is such a treat to talk to. So I want to hear if you could recommend to me uh some books, and then don't you ever think, gosh, there's so many incredible books that we're not going to be able
Oh,
to read them all in our lifetime. And so I need to stop looking at my phone and read more books. What would you recommend I read this summer? I
can I?
never read The
I'm
Women.
getting.
So
I'm
many
gonna
of
give
my
you.
friends read The Women. Uh, is that by Kristen
Can I
Hanna, I
please? That's
think?
Kristen Hanna. Can I talk about Kristen Hanna for a second?
Yeah, please.
Read her. She is our James Michener, our Herman Wouk. She writes stories that are rich and full, set in a particular time that she heavily researches. But Kristen has the voice. Her work is full bodied, rich, and everybody in a family can read it, from the oldest member to the teenager, because her books immerse you in a moment in time. I am a big fan of hers. I consider her a dear friend. She's the most generous writer that ever was. And I struggled to put her somewhere, but for those of you who love those big, delicious, deep, multi-layered epics. Read The Women. Read it, read it. It's about a nurse in Vietnam.
Yeah, that's what I
And
heard.
yeah, and it's superb. The Nightingale is superb. The Great Alone. I mean, she doesn't write books that are slight and fluffy. They are delicious, immersive, and you turn the pages. They're eminently readable, like Michener was, like Herman Wouk was.
I loved
They're
Herman Wouk. Do you know that, just a
Me
quick
too.
aside, and then I wanna ask you about another writer.
Yeah, I got to
A
give you
quick
my rep. Yeah,
a
yeah.
quick aside, Herman Wouk, I interviewed a lot of people when I was on the Today Show for 15 years. My very favorite interview ever was with Herman Wouk. I loved him. He was the loveliest, most charming, cutest, mischievous. I just loved Herman Wouk.
Well, you know what? He was the real deal. And if I were Jewish and I would be proud to be Jewish, I would be proud to be Jewish because of Herman Wouk and many, many, many other great artists. But he had a gimlet eye, and he also had a heart. And
Yeah, there
I
was
mean, go back and read Marjorie Morningstar, but listen
yeah,
to it
I did
because now
read
they get.
Marjorie Morningstar a long time ago,
I loved
but
that
I'd like
book.
to reread it.
Yeah,
Wait,
you'll find new things.
I wanted to ask you because of your childhood about Barbara Kingsolver. All my high school friends love Demon Copperhead, and something's wrong with me, you guys. I have no attention span now. I started reading it, and then I didn't finish it.
Okay, you need the audio on that. Just pick up in the audio where you were where the book was, because here's
I
the
got to
deal.
start over because I don't even remember.
Let's talk about Barbara Kingsolver, shall we?
Yeah, shall we?
She lives
Let's.
in Appalachia. She's married to Stephen Hops, who is this fantastic professor at Emory and Henry University, which you know. And she has two daughters. She's a grandma now. She's the real deal. She took the profits from Demon Copperhead and opened the Higher Ground Women's Drug Treatment Facility in residence.
I know. I read that. That
I
is
just went
so
down there.
cool.
I went down there. She invited me, and I said, anything for you. Whatever I do in Southwest Virginia, Barbara and Steven are there. Whether it's a movie, whether it's we did a thing with the kids in the Origin Project, which is my in-school writing program down there. She came and we did, because the opioid thing is raging and we wanted to address it. So we did a parent-child night, and Barbara came to that with Dr. Art Van Zee. The book is set 5 miles from the house I grew up in
Wow.
Lee County, Virginia, which is, I say, God made Wise County, but he went to rest in Lee County. It's this resplendent, beautiful place. And she took David Copperfield. She went to England, stayed in his house, and did all that. And she devised the story of this kid, Demon, in Lee County, born of a mother in poverty,
Right.
and told the story. Okay. The reason I think you put it down for a second is because it's every chapter is a book. It's satisfying. I find that propulsive. But think about it, David. Think about it that David Copperfield is based on newspaper articles, serials. Okay, so there has to be a whole story told in a chapter and then a cliffhanger. I mean, it deserves a Pulitzer. It is expert. She is a phenom.
I think she did win a Pulitzer
She won
Prize.
the Pulitzer. Yes.
Do you
Is it
say I say
Pulitzer? Do I say it
Pulitzer,
wrong?
you say Pulitzer, I say Pulitzer. Which
All
one
right.
is it?
I think that, well, you would know. So I'm going to say
Well, I
Pulitzer.
don't
What do
know.
you say? No.
I'm gonna Google. I like Googling while I'm talking to you. How do
Okay.
you
Okay.
pronounce? I've heard it different ways, but I've always said Pulitzer. It says Pulitzer. The name is
Pulitzer.
generally
Okay. I'm going to say
pronounced
Pulitzer.
Pulitzer, while some initially think of words like pure and purity when they say Pulitzer. What? Pure?
Well, all right. So it's Pulitzer.
Wait, here,
Pulitzer.
I'm listening. Here, I got one of these things. Hold on.
Yeah. Look here.
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
This word right here tends to get mispronounced. I hear a lot of people pronounce it as Pulitzer, as in like pew pew. And this is because we anglicize it. We tend to associate it with pronunciation like pure and purity. But how it's actually pronounced is Pulitzer, like Pulitzer, Pulitzer.
Okay, there
This
now you
word
have
right
it.
here tends to get mispronounced.
I stand corrected, but who is that lady? She could go screw herself. I've had it wrong
Her
for like
name is Shelley-ish. So
Shelley, I'm
anyway,
teasing.
she got
Shelley,
some
I'm
very
teasing.
big earrings on. I know that.
She's AI.
Hey,
She's an AI
look,
character. I don't think she's real,
all right,
but I'm
so
going to say it correctly. So anyway, she won that and every other award,
yeah,
which deservedly so, because it's an Appalachian story. Look, let's talk, just us here. I take a lot of crap because I write. Well, I don't. My Big Stone Gap series is to me in a lot of ways romantic. It's tragic. It's a lot of things, but they try to fob me off like I'm soft. And that's okay, because that's what I do. However you interpret the art is how you interpret it, and it's great. But I say this to folks: if you want gentle, read the Big Stone Gap series. If you want an immersive experience of Appalachia in the moment, read Demon Copperhead. Read it.
and
I mean,
it's Barbara. Someone asked for us to repeat the author. It's Barbara Kingsolver. The other
Kingsolver.
author we mentioned was Kristen Hanna, and then of course the late great Herman Wouk. Hey,
Mhm.
I think we have to go, but will you send me a list of books that you think I would enjoy in addition to yours? And anyone
Absolute.
else have recommendations? Will you guys send them to me on Substack?
We're going to
And I
send them.
will send you some that I've enjoyed. I'll let you know All the Beauty in the World, how that is. Has anybody out there read All the Beauty in the World, which I just bought? Anyway,
Katie, can I give you two recs really fast?
yeah, of course.
Okay, really quickly. You got to read Uptown Girl by Christy Brinkley.
I loved it. I
Okay.
interviewed Christy. By the way, I love Christy Brinkley.
Me too.
She is incredible. Oh, and I'll share the list, everybody. Christy is really a really good person. She's actually a very serious person. She cares deeply about the world and she feels everything very deeply. And she's a lot of fun too. And you interviewed her on your podcast,
I
right?
loved her. Now, the other one is one I don't know if you know, Bernice McFadden.
I
Wrote
don't.
Firstborn Girls. Katie, this is so up your alley because Firstborn Girls, she went back to 1822 and then forward. She's a gorgeous African American woman. I adore her. She started when I started 25 years ago with a novel called Sugar, but she decided to write the women's line in her family. So it starts in slavery. It is a page turner and a great listen, too. It's a
Okay, it's called
memoir.
Firstborn Girls by
Mhm.
Bernice
Bernice
McFadden.
McFadden. Yep.
Everybody who is nice enough to subscribe to my Substack and to Adriana's, and now you've got to subscribe to Adriana, obviously, too. But why don't we come up with a fun reading list and maybe we'll make a book club? Oh,
Katie, why don't we do that? Why don't we? I'm reading all these books. I got nowhere to go with it. I mean, I try to tell everybody, but let's do it. Why not?
yeah.
It, I
Okay,
think we
someone
need the
just
Katie
wrote to
Club.
me. Brenda. I wonder if this is Brenda who went to Smith, was with my sister Clara, who everyone calls Kiki, who grew up with her. But Brenda said, Katie, I know Kiki used the library, so do I. So, thank God for libraries and thank God for people who use them because we have to keep them around. But yeah, this was so fun, Adriana. Thank you
Loved
for
it.
hanging with me.
Thank you.
You're doing are you doing something in New Jersey today for the book?
Yeah, I'm over at the Spring Lake Theater with my brother and his band, Mike Trigiani and the Predictables, a night really of comedy. Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
How
And
fun.
this is our 10th show, and I just have loved doing it. I wanted to give the readers something to remember, something special. So
And
here
it's
we are.
also just nice to come together and to be together. It's such a stressful time in our country and so upsetting that I think we all need to come together and be with one another and find a little joy and have some fun. So
And big
that
laughs. We need
that's not,
laughter.
I wanted to mention, uh wait, what's it called? See where you are.
What? Oh, Spring Lake, New Jersey,
Spring
Lake
Lake, not
Como.
see. Oh, because I rented a house one summer with my late husband in Seagirt, New Jersey, which is right next door to Spring Lake. And our good friends Jack and Dorothy Ford. Jack's a lawyer and wonderful person. The Fords are great people. They live in Spring Lake. So if you ever run into Jack Ford, tell him I
Yeah,
said
I know
hey.
Jack. I know of him, yes. And you know what, Seagirt, we're going to send you Tony's wife because that's where that family's from. That,
Oh,
that
okay.
that was my big band era pop music thing,
Well,
Craftsman.
you are so much fun and such a great person. And Adriana, I think, I hope everyone enjoyed our conversation. I wish I could get more questions and open it up more, but hopefully this was worth your time and kind of a nice change of pace from all the political stuff I've been doing. Adriana, I'm excited to read your book, The View from Lake Como. I'd love to go to Lake Como until I get to Lake Como in Italy. I'm going to come to Lake Como in New Jersey.
Perfect. Perfect. They'll love you like I do, as
All
I
right.
do. Like or as, Katie. Don't Google it, please. I can't. I can't take one more AI Google.
Okay. I'm not
Oh, they
going to
want me to
Google
show the
it.
book. It looks
Yeah,
like this,
show the book.
but it's backwards. So what good does that do?
No, it's not backwards. It's not backwards for us.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
I see backwards.
Okay. We're good. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Love you,
Thank
Adriana.
you. Love you. And I'll
Okay.
see you
Talk to you
soon.
guys soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Oh my God. I kept you so long.
No, it was fun. Okay.